never boring, not even if the performer resides in the peaceful town of Moscow, Idaho. Eric Ingebretson, known as Eric E., started performing at the age of 10, but started his musician career straight out of college.
Well, I ended up right out of college. I went to Europe with a jazz group, and the group was gonna break up after that tour was over, and I just thought, wow, I've got a chance to be in Europe. When am I ever going to get to come back to Europe again, and for free? And so I quit the group early before they flew home, and I just stayed in Europe, and I ended up hitchhiking around and meeting people, and I stayed there for a couple of years, and started performing on the street and playing that way. And then after I ended up in Europe about 6 years total, and then came back to the States and got into performing in the college market and going to colleges. And I had an agent in Minneapolis who booked me all over the U.S. basically. So that's when I really traveled the United States all over. And
Eric's music has taken him all over the world, including 19 countries, most of which were in Europe, but he has also made it to Japan, which was not always smooth sailing.
Yeah, right. I ended up, I landed in Tokyo with $6 to my name and hitchhiked about 8 hours north to a city where I knew a guy from college, and then I got to, and again, had a wonderful 2 months of being in Japan, and actually in a part of Japan where we even went up into the mountains to places where some of the people had never even met a Caucasian. They'd only seen Caucasians on TV. So it was just wonderful, fascinating experiences with wonderful people, and again, if I'd had the money to go home, I'd have just landed in Tokyo, got on another plane, and gone home. But because I didn't have any money, I got to be in Japan for 2 months and playing on the street, meeting a lot of wonderful people, great experiences. So yeah, after 2 months of playing on the street, then I ended up making it to Seattle and hitchhiked back to the Palouse.
In his career, he has also been able to meet and open for many artists and celebrities, including Jay Leno.
The Jay Leno experience was really neat. He turned out to be just such a great guy, super humble and no big star attitude, very down to earth, great guy. Had some fun stories from hanging out with him. And yeah, it's been a very neat part of my career to be able to just have the chance to rub shoulders with some of those people that I idolized and still do, and they're wonderful.
One part of Eric's act that sets him aside from other performers is his music history knowledge.
My love for music made me want to know about music history. I just began to find out every song I learned. I was like, what year was this a hit? What year was this famous? And then pretty soon my repertoire began to get big enough to where I realized, it would only take a few years to fill in, and I could do every year. And then I thought, the coolest thing in the world would be if you could do every year in the 20th century, because almost all the styles of music that I like came from the 20th century. And I realized, man, just think if I could play a song for every year from the 20th century, that'd be fun. So honestly, when I first started, I wasn't even thinking of it as a performance gimmick. I just thought it was just for me. And then I started to realize, no, you could ask the audience, pick a year and play my song.
His wife attends his gigs regularly in the Palouse area, and she always enjoys his time on stage.
I think probably the best thing is just the interaction with the audience and the way he can make it personal to anybody who's there. So it can be one thing for one audience, another thing for another audience. And he just tailor makes it to, what they are interested in, what they say in his conversations with them. So that's what I think is the most unique thing about him.
Although there are many parts to Eric's career he enjoys, he does have his favorite parts about being a musician.
The best part of being a musician, I would say, definitely, is just you get to interact with so many different kinds of people and have experiences that you wouldn't have had any other way. I was traveling in Europe. There was some good long stretches where I was actually homeless, and I literally lived on the street like a bum, making enough money to live each day with a really rough street crowd sometimes. And then other times, I've gotten to be with some of the wealthiest people in the world. I performed at the Bohemian Club outside of San Francisco, which President Reagan is a member, Henry Kissinger, a lot of those guys. some of the most powerful men in America and wealthiest. I was there performing for them. I just love people. I love people. I love to help people. I love to communicate what I think is the thing that will help the world. And so that's the best part about music, is just meeting all the people.